Well, as you can see, I have a lot of fezzes. I go off into the distance, and I'm going to talk about why I have so many, because they're all so different. And a collector collects and appreciates the differences of the items they collect. One nickel isn't enough. You have to have one from every year, one from every mint. So I know that fezzes are numerous and diverse, and I think I'm done with my collection, but I'm going to show you why I have so many in little bits and pieces. So we'll start first with the heads here. Little sphinx-like pharaoh or pharaohess. I realize these were actually dames, not men, unless they changed at some point. But we'll take a look at them right now. I don't know the age of these things, but I have a feeling that these are older than some of the others, and this one has a rather small pharaoh's head with a little square cartouche with a embroidered square thing there on its little crescent shape. And this is rather small, as is this. No, he's big. Here's another small one here. But he's not in a square cartouche, he's in a keystone shaped cartouche. So there's a difference. That's interesting. There's a sword and a star and a crescent and a pharaoh, I guess, on most of these. And the stars are different, the pharaohs are different, the swords are relatively the same. There's another one in a keystone, except he's all metal, or she's all metal. Is that a dame or a guy? Now, also, this one has, rather than bullion thread, this has regular thread. See, they're all so fascinating. Here's another one here with bullion thread now, another square one. The way the handle on the sword and the little hanger over the sword, there's no bejeweled like there is here, or extra bejeweled like there is here. Guess that isn't very extra. But aren't they fun? This one is another keystone. I like his little border, or her little border that she has. Zemzem. We'll talk about names later, but just really fun. My cat is now playing with paper. I think the more recent ones have the larger images of the pharaoh, and this one clearly has boobs, or what appear to be boobs. They're rather helium filled, as they're so high up on the chest, but there's that one. Balut Abyad. We'll talk about, as I said, we'll talk about the names later. Now this has a little green gem in the middle of the star. This one has a little red gem in the star and a little green gem here. I imagine there's a reason why some are green and some are red. This one evidently is quite, speaking of red, the red meat is quite yummy, according to the moths that lived in this attic or basement. Beautiful lettering. Let's go with some more. Here's another. Get the tassel out of the way. One of these hats on the inside had some instructions on how to care for your fez, and you were supposed to never ever let the tassel touch the embroidery. Why? I can only surmise. The embroidery is kind of sharp, it's metal, so maybe it would fray the tassel, or the tassel might tarnish the embroidery. I don't know. This one has a really puffy handle on that sword there. Let's go with more. Here's another. See this? Sometimes there's just the head, and sometimes there's a little bit of chest showing. Again, I imagine each company did it differently. The patrol. Look at these little shiny bits here on the corner of the letters. That's something that happens on many letters. It doesn't happen on the top here, Mount Sinai, but it does happen on the ones that are more Roman. Now look at this star. It has all sorts of little bedazzlements. And this one, this star is actually hanging on a little necklace kind of a thing. Iram. Now this one doesn't look like it has those little, unless is that little thread, that one little thread. The very top corner of the letters has one little thread that's sparkly, or more sparkly, and you can see it here. But it's really quite fun. I find it fun. Do you find it fun? Here's another one, Raja. Boobage on the pharaohette, the queen. Raja. Do I see? Yes, you see on the A, the bottom of that A, that little bit, that last little thread on the bottom of the serif of the A and the top are sparkly. And you'll see that in a different one when I talk about those. Okay, put these on the ground. We don't need to talk about these anymore. We'll talk about yep, you got it. Sequins. Rhinestones, rather. See, now this is a pharaohette of a queen of color. Well, she's polychrome. She has, her headdress is polychrome, which is a little bit different from the other ones we've seen. And of course, the sword and the name, this one has rhinestones and bullion thread, bristling in the worst possible taste, I think. So this is Zura. The Raja, even more bedazzlement with this extra little line of text, Provost Guard. Going back to, again, the gaudiness of this compared to the subtlety and the sublime sleepiness of the bullion. Now this queen or king seems half asleep there at the wheel. Cora. Some of the older fezzes, I think, had this sort of weird script going on, rather than the big old block lettering. Damascus. And the lettering is weirdly weird. I mean, there's these little dangly bits that come out, and that's supposed to be an S. Another yummy moth-eaten one here. And again, a priestess or pharaoh or queen that seems half asleep. Let's see, what other ones can I talk about? I'll put you on pause for a second. This fez is quite lovely because it's very soft. The fabric is almost like velour. It's brushed to have this very soft feel to it, and I like the name Almena. I prefer to call it all men, which of course is what these things consist of, all men wearing these things. So this one is a pharaoh or queen in a rectangular cartouche. Quite lovely. Sometimes you see abominations that if they were in Leviticus, that it would have been written if these were made during the Old Testament days. Because, you know, here's perfectly nice embroidery. There's that shiny, this has two strings of embroidery, shiny embroidery at the end of their letters. So here we have perfectly legitimate embroidery. But when you mix embroidery with sequins, here's Zor again, it's just awful. It's like putting your name in lights. Veteran Patrol. But this is the only one of these I have that has this two, like, it's just bad. Bad. Here the sequins surround the embroidery, and up here the embroidery surrounds the sequins, or the sequins were added probably on top. It was probably a perfectly legitimate one that looked like this, and then they maybe that's the reason. Maybe they, when they added this thing at the bottom, they decided they had to embroider bedazzlement the rest of it to match. I'll pretend that's why. It wasn't a conscious decision by a designer, but by the man who wore this. I have many that are from the same lodge. Now here's a queen of color. In addition to the polychrome headdress, the head itself is not gold, but tinged with a darker tone, murat. The M's in this case, these are supposed to be swords, which don't really look like swords as much as they do when they're embroidered. Come on, there's 3 of them here. See, here's the embroidered one. Whoops. And there you see the swords. And I think this one has silver embroidery here and gold hilts, which is kind of nice. Look at that star, has little extra rays coming out of it. That's kind of subtle. See, this one doesn't. That's just a star. This one has little bits. Murat. So we have 2 Murats. Here's a third. This one has 1 color of bullion on the swords, not 2. Here. Now I do have 3. Now where did they go? Tahama. There we go. Here's Tahama. Tahama Lodge, the divan. And so look at this one. And then look at this one. Bigger letters, as you can see, side by side. And then we've got the big print Bible version. Huge letters. Which is huger than it needs to be. There's no reason that they have to be that big. The Murat Horse Patrol. This one, this is bad. This is just bad. This is slightly better, but still bad. They're not as nice as the embroidered ones. Where are my embroidered ones? Let's go over here. Sudan, a white one with thread embroidery. We also have, oh, there's another Murat. Zaga Zig. This was my first fez. Zaga Zig. There are those little sparkly bits at the end again. This one is just thread, no bullion involved in this one. Oh, he's missing his little star rhinestone. Isis. See, now here's where the lettering, the whole bottom half of the lettering is shiny versus the top. Amis. I'm crawling over the back of these things. Past President Sudan. Sparkly bits. There's one here that I'm trying to find. It's one that looked like was just purchased at the Fez shoppy because it's so bright. Where are you? You know, don't you just hate when you can't find the right fez? It has the shiniest lettering. It's like it had never been tarnished. The tassel never, ever, ever tarnished it. See, here you see, again, those sparkly little bits at the end, which this is pretty shiny, this one. Lulu. I like the name on this one. Lulu. Okay, where are you, Ben Ali? I know which one I'm looking for. Isis? No, 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 Here it is. Look at that one. Sparkly. Now, I haven't even talked about the bedazzlements on the side here, but some of them are quite bedazzly. Some have multi-colored things. Some are just chains at the bottom that keep your tassel in place. I imagine if you were wearing these while you were at dinner, there would be tassels in the soup, and there'd be all sorts of mess going on. Now, there's one thing here that I think you need to see. That I will try to show you here, but I may have to do it by wearing one of these things. Often these, well, you can tell on this one, maybe a little bit. You see how they flop down, and you put this on your head, and the tassel is, you know, pulling it sideways, and you move your head and it starts flopping down. So the fez people have decided that they will make a stabilizer for these things. So they're a piece of plastic that goes inside of the hat that will keep it upright. Now, I don't think they should call it a stabilizer, because stabilizers imply that they move around sort of at will. This keeps it erect. So this is like Viagra for the Shriner. This will just keep it stiff and sticking straight up if you don't want your fez to be limp. Don't you think? What do you think? Hello. So that's just why I have to have so many, because they're all so different. Look at them. This is like where fezzes go to die, like the elephant graveyard. More. Now, I will put these back. I've got a, you can see here, I've got a tripod display that will have, these fezzes will go back on them in Ikebana style. But I've got more than one tripod area, so I've got to figure out how I'm going to divide these up. Zemboya. See, I also like the different kind of lettering. There's this weird script. Looks like it was script squeezed out of a toothpaste tube. And then you've got the sort of Germanic look, and then the block lettering. And then you've got a little bit of both, block and a little script thrown in for a little bit of Dom casual. Anyway, there you go. I have to have all of these. Absolutely. I have one of these. It's the Order of the Eastern Star, which was the female version of the Shriners. And this is the Boston Past High Priestess fez, which I wear quite often. Look at all that bedazzlement. See, the moths don't like white meat. They love red meat, though. They love eating this red meat. Come on, where's some red meat being consumed? Well, oh, here's a HEPA Boston Patrol. This is, I don't know who made what this group is. We'll end with a HEPA. Say goodbye. Goodbye.